My name is Alama from Bila. I live with both my parents and 3 siblings. I went through the most. It all started in 2008 when I went to visit my uncle in Bloemfontein. I met a guy and we fell in love. We started dating. And as we know, like men, they promise you the world when you meet. And he promised me everything, like the world, a house, everything that a man could offer, and I felt for it. So basically, when I was done, when I completed my matric, my parents sent me in Gauteng for further studies, for tertiary studies, and he followed me from Bloemfontein to Johannesburg. By that time, I got pregnant. Then I had to stop. I didn't complete my studies. I had to go home. And he also found a job overseas. So when I became pregnant, the family didn't like the idea that I disappointed them and I got pregnant. So the mother heard of me that I was pregnant, and she didn't like the idea. So basically she started hating me for nothing, just because the son went overseas. So when he came back from overseas, or after 6 months, everything began to change. He became abusive, and as well as the mother, like she treated me as if I was a slave and not a wife. So so it came by the time when he had to buy a house, but his mother encouraged him not to buy it, just because he was married to me. The mother didn't want him to buy a house. So he became a drunkard, he became a cheater. He didn't even cheat on me only with female, but he cheated on me with other men. I could actually say he had a heterosexual relationship, so with this white guy. And this white guy was very wealthy, he was rich. So for me to compete with such a person, it was very difficult. And he started abandoning us, not sending money for me and our daughter. So our daughter had to drop out of crèche because I couldn't afford to pay the fees anymore. And we could spend a week just frying a maize meal and frying sugar for it to become brown, actually, so that we can have it as our coffee, and maize meal as our bread. So it took us for weeks. We survived on that. So one day I decided to go look for a job. I remember it was late in the afternoon, around 5. So I went to the nearby casino, where, as we know, the time to look for work is in the morning. But for me, the way I was so depressed, the way I was so stressed, I didn't even realize that it was late. I just had to go and look for something, or else I was going to starve to death with my daughter. I had to do something with sometimes we used to stay without electricity in the house. So that day I decided to go to the nearby casino to look for a job, and it was late. So when I reached the casino, I asked for the manager. Then he came. And he was also amazed by the time that I went looking for a job, because it was very late. And he asked me what did I want, and I told him that I'm looking for a job. And he looked at his time, and he looked at me, and he was laughing. He was like, at this time and you're looking for a job? I'm like, say, if you have anything, like anything, I could do anything at the moment. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a job, say, that you can offer me. It doesn't matter whether I should clean or anything. I just need a job. And he said, okay, go back home. I will call you and I will call you for an interview. So I went back home, and I remember it was on Wednesday. I was in church. We were praising at the evening service, and my phone rang, and it was him, the manager from casino. He told me I had to go and see him the following day, wearing a black trouser and a white and a black shirt. So I went the following day, and he didn't even interview me. He just gave me a job as a waitress. That's when I started working, and I could be able to provide for my daughter. But my daughter as well went through the most. She was also affected by what the father was doing to me, because sometimes he could just come drunk and he will just beat me up or say words, offensive words. Then this other night, he came home drunk. I don't know what happened, where he was. Then when I asked him of where he was, then he started beating me and kicking me, started crying, and I couldn't just take it anymore. So I decided to commit suicide. I took pills, but he was there. Then he saw me when I was taking those pills. Then he came and choked me on my neck, or on my neck, just so that I can throw out the pills. So when I tried to take my life that night, that's when I heard the voice of God, like talking to me, like it's not worth it to take your life. Because I couldn't just take it anymore, like the shame which I will bring on my parents of me going back home. I couldn't just take that. But God saved me. He said it's not worth it for me to take my life. Then he decided that I should go. If I don't go, he doesn't know what he will do to me. I should just leave him and go. He kicked that night. That day he kicked me out at night. It was midnight. I had to get a bus from Bloemfontein to Limpopo. So when I went back home, I was so depressed. Like, I brought shame on my family, and it didn't sit well with me. So I met this guy after a few months. The first day when I met this guy, we walked together until at his place, and that's when he raped me. On that day, I felt, on the same day, I felt pregnant. So the following day, he came and apologized that he didn't mean it, and he did it because he was drunk. And he told me that he was going to ask me for my hand in marriage. At first, I didn't agree until I found out that I was pregnant. So I was left with no choice, but I just had to agree because I didn't want to give birth to a child out of wedlock. So we got married, and because the guy stays, this other guy stays in Northwest in Breds. So I relocated to Breds. This guy, he was a psycho. He didn't want me to go anywhere. When he's around, he will lock the gate. He didn't permit anyone to come in, and he didn't want me as well to go out. But the good thing, I only used to pray. I'm like, God, why am I going through this much? At first, I wanted to complete my tertiary. I want to complete my studies, but I couldn't. And now again, I felt for this guy who doesn't allow me, even people to come and visit me. He doesn't allow me even to go and visit my parents back home in Limpopo. It was so depressing. So I asked him, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. Like, the only thing that I wanted to achieve is to get at least some qualification. So I spoke to God. I used to pray. I used to fast. I asked him at least if he could just talk to him and allow me to go to school. So this other time I spoke to him. Like, I asked him, I want to go to school. It's because you don't want me to have friends. You don't want me to go anywhere. I'll go crazy in this house. At least allow me to go and look to go to school. At tertiary, then he allowed me to go to school. But by me not knowing, he bought me a phone, which I thought was a good thing. I didn't know that he had a tracker in that phone. So when I go to school, I have to come back straight home, because he can see me. If I'm not home, he could see that I was not home. So if I'm not home, he will call, where are you? Go home. Like, he was so controlling. He was so sure. It was too much. Then I felt pregnant again for him while we were living together. And he started accusing me that the baby is not his. I was cheating on him. This other Sunday, while I was still pregnant, the pastor wanted to ordain us to become deacon and deaconess in the church. So he had to, according to their church, they have to ordain us. We have to take olive oil, or we have to drink the olive oil. So he had to send for a child to get the olive oil from home. When I took the olive oil, later that day, I started feeling sick, having headaches, and at night I started bleeding. When I told my husband that I was bleeding, he was like, no, we'll go in the morning, we'll see the doctor in the morning, so I guess you'll be fine at night. So we slept, but I couldn't sleep because I was so in pain. I was having this headache. I've never experienced. I've never had such a headache in my life. So when I woke up again in the morning, I was still bleeding, and I told him again, I'm still bleeding. So I really need to see a doctor in my condition. I really need to see a doctor. I need to know what's wrong. I'm 6 months pregnant, and now I'm bleeding. So he agreed. He took me to a clinic. At the clinic, when we arrived at the clinic, they called an ambulance, and we went to the hospital. They took me to the hospital, and after a day, they told me that I lost the baby. And he accused me that I killed the baby. Meanwhile, they are the one who gave me their olive oil, or what killed that baby. I really don't know what happened. So when I came out of the hospital, I just knew I had to go back home. So I just took my bag and my daughter, and we went home as if we were going to visit. I left him again with everything, just as I left the first one again. So when I went home, God is full of grace. God is full of mercy. He's God of everyone. He blessed me with a job where I was working for the president at Palapala. The company's name is Palapala. I worked for Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa for a year and a half. Then I got an internship at Tumamina Investment, where we are being trained as accounting entrepreneurs. But basically at the moment I have again a job at school where I'm working for CETA. So I'm just doing everything. I'm striving for everything to help me raise my kids. As we know, it's way too difficult as a single parent. So I'm just doing everything in my power to raise my kids, and it's all glory to God. As we are seeing nowadays, like there's too much gender-based violence. Sometimes we're just saying a person will change, or a person will be better, I will be able to change my partner. But then a person, if he doesn't want to change, they won't change. And we can't make them change. There are some who changes by the grace of God, but most, they don't change. So I advise, if you see that you are going through or you are in a toxic relationship, I advise you to leave, and God will bless you. My name is Alama, and I've been through the most.